Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and we have a very special guest today, Nina Manolson. Welcome to Imperfect Momming.
Oh, Alicia, I'm so happy to be here with you.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I am a body peace coach. And what I do actually is help women create a relationship with their body and their food that feels good, that feels like they're at peace instead of being at war with themselves. And so my work is really getting into the relationship that women have with their body, the relationship they have with food, their relationship with that they have really fundamentally with their how they show up physically in life.
I really enjoy this topic because it's something I don't know any women that haven't struggled.
Yes, that are right. Isn't that, but Alicia, isn't that amazing? Right there, that statement.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that hasn't struggled, because some people will say, well, I imagine that people in small bodies don't struggle. And I'm here to tell you, after working with women for 30 years, that's not true.
Right.
That's absolutely not true. And to have a whole culture of women that are struggling to feel good and at home and at peace in their own body is infuriating, aggravating, enraging. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong, because if we think about how much of our time gets spent on, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. Oh, what am I going to wear? Oh, I can't believe I gained. Oh my gosh, the scale said what? Right. And what all of that does is literally put a leak in our tire. Like, bad analogy, but like if we're a car and you had a leak in the tire, so you just go slower and slower, and you're like, what's the matter? Why are things not just like hustling along in this peppy way? It's because you have an energy leak, which is, I feel bad about myself. I feel bad about my body. I feel bad that I'm not the shape that I was, or the shape that I imagine I should be. Right? All of the shoulds and the shame and the ought tos, just literally, they're soul sucking.
Yeah. I knew that this would come up at some point during our episode just because it's so relevant to our topic. But I was listening to a podcast yesterday or the day before. All my days blend together now. Time has no meaning anymore. It stopped having meaning in 2020.
It did. It just sort of started to run together.
Yeah. And so I was listening to this podcast, and she said, imagine how much more bandwidth you would have if you stopped having those kind of thoughts about yourself. And I was one of those people that thought that thin people didn't have body image issues.
No.
Even though when I was super young, I saw a woman who was anorexic, and she was so thin. And I did not know her. I saw her running through our neighborhood. And I remember thinking, this was my first experience with anorexia. And I was like, she's so thin.
how could
Yeah.
she not see that she's so thin? And I don't remember who I asked that question to. I would imagine it was my stepmom, but she said, that it was that's a disorder. Like it's
It
you
is.
you
Absolutely. It's an eating
literally,
disorder.
yeah. And you
And
like,
it's a life-threatening
right.
eating disorder,
Yeah.
right?
I
Like
mean,
people die of
oh, for
anorexia
sure.
nervosa.
She
Yeah.
was so thin that I would imagine, because I don't know when the last time I saw her was, but I would imagine that she didn't move out of the neighborhood, that she was, it didn't
Yeah.
make, I would imagine that she didn't, I imagine she didn't make it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
so sad.
that was the first time. And then I had the first time I talked to somebody, my nail lady was, very thin, woman. And um, she said, it's very annoying when people come to you and
Mhm.
come up to you and say, "Ugh, you're so skinny. Ugh, eat something."
Right.
She's like, "I eat constantly. I don't gain
Right.
weight." And I'm like, "Oh, such
Right.
problems to have." But like to even that is a judgment from me. Like it's like, "Oh, I wish I could eat whatever
Right.
I want and look like you."
Right. But what you're unpacking, Alicia, is this idea that people think that they can comment on other women's bodies, that women's bodies are objects, right? And it doesn't matter what size you are, that somehow you are not good enough,
Yeah.
right? And then what happens for women, especially moms, is our bodies change.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all the comparison of, oh, you should get your mommy body back. What? Your pre-mommy body, right? Like
Yeah.
what? That whole idea of getting your body back. It's like, no, your body has changed. You have grown a human, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as such, you have changed. And how do you now create a relationship, a positive, not a negative, not a critical, not a managing, controlling, abusive relationship with your body, but how do you actually create a relationship with your body that feels kind, caring, supportive, respectful, responsive, fun,
Yeah.
right? Trusting,
Yeah.
right? That's what we want. And every time we comment on somebody else's body, we're tearing away at the fiber of them possibly having this good, positive, peaceful relationship with their own body.
And I know it's not something that men do have similar, not as much.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
not
They have
exclusive.
their own thing.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's
Um,
not exclusive. And yet, I know women, I've worked with women for 30 years. Like that's
right.
my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that men don't have their own issues and men aren't objectified in certain ways.
Right.
Absolutely. Our culture is terrible in terms of putting some standard of body up as this is our tiny definition of
Mm-hmm.
beauty, right?
Yeah.
It fits in this itsy bitsy little box. And if you don't fit in that itsy bitsy box, you don't get the title of beautiful or acceptable or lovable or worthy, right? Whew,
Mm-hmm.
it's loaded.
Yeah. And this is a timely conversation for us as well, because I had I'm a month and a half postpartum. I was a surrogate, so they're not mine. But my I've had given birth 5 times, and so I have a very
Mm.
clear, I'm very clear on my pattern
Mm-hmm.
postpartum. Um, and there's something that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, which is when you are postpartum, that your body physically misses being pregnant. And
Mm.
I don't know that all women experience this, but I've had multiple conversations, once
Mm-hmm.
I kind of recognized it, and then I would mention it, and I've
Mm-hmm.
heard people say, "Oh my gosh, me too. How could?" And it's like nobody talks about this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's the emotional eating that happens, that starts with, you get a reward for being good. I'm going to give you a cupcake, or we're going
Mm-hmm.
to celebrate your birthday. Here's some cake. that makes me
Mhm.
feel happy. And then our brain transfers that programming into, well, I don't feel good right now, so I'm going to eat something so I'll feel good. And then I'm not going to
Yes.
feel good because I ate something that I wasn't supposed to eat in order to feel good. And now I feel bad. And this is a huge cycle.
It is. It is. In fact, I have a lot of feelings about emotional eating. And one of the things that I have done and is I'm just pulling it up right now is I've written um, a poem about emotional eating. Um, if you're interested in hearing that.
Please share.
Yeah. So I'll tell you just to start what is that one of the reasons that I started writing body peace poems was really the same reason that you said, I've been talking to women and there's this feeling about wanting to be pregnant, right? There's this feeling of uh, that there's something unsaid, right? There's this feeling like there's something that needs more conversation. And I felt like one of the things that we don't talk about is our relationship with our body. We talk about what should be and how we wish it was, but we don't talk about what really is going on. And so this poem is called A Poem for Anyone Who's Ever Eaten Their Feelings.
Hmm.
So, because I would always hear about emotional eating. Oh, I'm bad. I shouldn't emotional eat. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is called A Poem for Anyone Who's Ever Eaten Their Feelings.
Mm.
I like to eat my feelings. Say it. Say it like it's a fact. No angst, no guilt, no shame. No, I shouldn't eat emotionally. It's not a question. It's not how do I stop myself from eating my feelings? It's not how do I stop reaching for the flavor that soothes? It's just the truth. I like to eat my feelings. Full stop. Don't add, I shouldn't because then I'll eat too much. Then I'll eat the carbs, the brownies, the all you can eat buffet. Just feel this. I like to eat my feelings. I like to eat because it brings me comfort. It turns down the volume on intensity, on sad, mad, and alone. When I say I like to eat my feelings, I mean I'm hungry for comfort, for some sweetness, for a break. Embrace this. Notice the challenge of being in your body with your feelings. Acknowledge and appreciate how food can be self care. I like to eat my feelings. When you say this, know that you're not alone. We all eat emotionally. We are emotional beings. We eat food and have feelings about our food. We have feelings about having eaten our food. When we own it, we're able to eat the food, and the food no longer eats us. We're able to choose the food, and the food doesn't choose us. We're able to feel our feelings, and the feelings no longer consume us. When we own it, we make space to be in an authentic relationship with ourselves.
Oh, that was so good. It gave me chills.
Mm.
I'm super impressed by poetry writers because I've always been a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in high school, I took a creative writing course, and one of the quarters we focused on poetry, and I was so mad that we had to focus on poetry because I didn't like the feelings. My idea of poetry was diving into these feelings, and I wanted to keep them hidden and keep them buried. And I did not like what could potentially come up. I was afraid of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of that at the time. It went to I hate poetry, and that was that. but I've come to embrace poetry. I still don't write it, but I've come to embrace it, and I love the creativity of people that anybody that's pouring out their creativity. I love it. So thank you for
Well,
sharing that with us.
you're very welcome. And poetry does speak on that emotional heart level, right? I spent years writing blogs about, what it means to have a relationship with your body, what it means to really eat with freedom and not feel like you should or shouldn't. And after a while, honestly, I just got tired of writing the articles. And I was having conversations with so many women that would inspire so many feelings in them and in me, that I was like, you know what, this deserves a little more, a little deeper conversation. And that's what the poems are. They invite a different conversation, and they hit us at a different place, right? A place that's often like not from our head. Oh yeah, I know I shouldn't be critical, right? Versus, ouch, that's critical.
Mm.
Oh, ouch, I'm giving myself a hard time. That's on the feeling level. That's on the emotional body. Those are the things that we really want to get into. What's going on under our neck, right? Below our head, when we're really diving into how do we make peace with our body.
That's been a journey that I've been on, especially during and after this last pregnancy, because I was carrying twins for the first time, and I had a C-section for the first time, and I have started to personify my body and give her gratitude for all that she's done for me and for the world.
Yeah.
And what she continues to do, and and as she continues to heal,
Yeah.
and as I continue to learn how to treat her better. It's been an interesting journey, and I don't think I've even said that out loud, that that's what I've been doing, but
Yeah.
thinking and just saying it out loud makes me think, like, I would never speak to any human the way that I have spoken to myself.
Yeah.
And it really did it. It has, like, this is landing so hard right now. You're experiencing my breakthrough right now.
It's what you're saying is so important, Alicia. Two things that you're saying. One is the awareness of the kind of relationship you've had, which the way I describe that is really an abusive relationship, right? I have clients who have unpacked similarly what you're unpacking right in this instant, who have said, oh my gosh, when I really listen to what I've said, I would not let anybody treat me that way. I have been in an abusive relationship most of my life with myself. And then the other piece that you said, which is part of the healing, which is, wow, I am starting to have a conversation. I'm starting to personify. And I don't even think of it as personification of our body. Our body is a person. Right. It's part of us. And to actually start hearing her, calling her and she, not it, right? To really be in that, like, thank you. Oh my gosh, what you have been through. Wow, carrying twins, having a C-section. Oh my gosh, dear body, thank you for getting me through all that and for being able to, like, I don't know, sit and pee. Like, it's a freaking miracle, right? It's just, we have to be in that very raw conversation with ourselves to start to cultivate an authentic conversation with our body, not a rah, come on, you can do 10 more sit-ups. That's not a conversation, right? That's just being bossy. That's what I call body management.
Yeah.
Right. We want compassion. We want caring. We want a conversation that's like the way we would be with a really, really dear friend.
Yeah. Because this is the only body that we're ever going to get. And, we genuinely generally rather, don't think about our body until it starts to get older.
Yeah.
And it starts to not do the things that it used to do. I'm speaking to myself.
No, absolutely. Right. There's that
Yeah.
sense of like, wait a second, it's my body just doesn't just bounce right back. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Or, I used to be able to go on a diet and lose a ton of weight. And then what's up with that? That's not working anymore. Or, I had an injury, right? All these things, which are ruptures in the relationship of our body, bring us close to, wait a second, this is important.
Mm-hmm.
This is, as I say, like you said, like this is the one body you get. I often say this is the longest relationship that you will ever have. You
Yeah.
are born in this body and you will die in this body. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you want to play it? Do you
Yeah.
want to be at war the rest of your life? Do you want to be worrying about calories and grams and carbs? Really? Really? For the rest of your life? Do you want to always feel bad? Do you always want to hide in the back of the photo because you don't want yourself to be seen? Is that how you want to go? If it is, be my guest. It's just no fun, is my experience, because that was me, right? And feeling free, feeling at peace, feeling at home in our own body, way more fun, way more empowering. We have more important things to do in this world than obsess about how many calories and grams and carbs we just ate.
Yeah.
Right? We have people to raise.
Right.
Right? We have a next generation to nurture. We have, changes we need to make in our culture so that these people that we've brought into this world have somewhere decent to live. We have things to do. And if being in the obsession of body and negativity and critical nature of your relationship with your body is getting in your way, that can change.
Yeah. I what I've been noticing, I would say this week in my body is that everything hurts. And I've done some 10-day challenges with a friend of mine is part of a health and wellness company, and they do a program called Shred 10 where they for 10 days you increase your fruits and vegetables and you decrease or eliminate for the 10 days caffeine, gluten, sugar, meat. I never remember them all, for the 10 days. And when I did it and was actually did it, because I've done variations of it, sometimes not 10 days, sometimes not with meat, whatnot. When I actually gave up coffee and caffeine, it's mostly just coffee. And then I started drinking coffee again. I noticed that my knees hurt when I brought the coffee back. And so I thought, well, I've been drinking a lot more coffee now that I'm postpartum. I probably drink coffee more than anything else, and everything's hurting. So I'm going to see what happens if I stop drinking coffee and see if that, there's all kinds of crazy mold that causes inflammation in the coffee that we drink. And so I'm giving that a try. I love coffee so much. But I'm drinking hot water right now.
Right. And it's tricky. There's a couple of issues that you brought up. One, a really important issue is, how do we get to know our body and to know what works for it and what doesn't? Right. And so sometimes being like, okay, I'm going to experiment. What happens if I reduce coffee? What happens? But the other thing that you brought up, which is really interesting and that you might have seen my eyebrow raise, is this idea of 10 days of restriction, because this is what happens when women restrict. And I imagine many, many women will relate to this. They've been on a diet. I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do this, and then I'm not going to do this, and then it's over. And then I'm like, gosh, I get to do it all again. And what happens is the pendulum swings. Now the pendulum swinging into the space of big permissiveness is very common because we've been in a space of big restriction, right? It's an equal and natural opposite reaction. Now, what happens is you do that once, okay, fine, great, okay, I restricted, and now I'm having this woohoo, I'm out of jail experience with food. But many women stay on that pendulum or roller coaster for their whole lives. Let me restrict. Okay, now let me restrict. Okay, now I'm free. Okay, now restrict. And that is actually harmful. The most common outcome of diets is weight gain and disordered eating. So when we think, oh yes, I'm going to do this detox cleanse, lifestyle plan, new diet, whatever it is like, really, am I harming myself further? Or am I really, really supporting myself? Because the marketing can make it look like, look, this is the best thing ever. But what it does is actually perpetuate disordered eating and the lack of trust in our own body, our own ability to know if we're hungry or full, our own ability to know what foods work best for us and don't. Right? And the other alarming statistic is that 95% of people who go on diets gain their weight back, if not more, in 2 to 5 years. Right? And of course, we all know those people who lost 100 pounds and kept it off, but we know more of those people who have lost 30 pounds, gained 50, lost 20 pounds, gained 40, right? We know those, a lot more of those people, because that is actually how dieting works. It doesn't. And our culture keeps selling it to us, like saying, here's this car, it's going to take you all the way, but it goes for 2 years and then it dies. And we're like, what's the matter with me that my car died? It's not you, it's the car.
Yeah. Yep, I've done all of the things that you were just saying.
I have too. Yeah. The reason I do this work, the reason I'm so passionate, as you can tell, I'm like, blah, 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 right? The reason I am so passionate about it is because that was me. Right? I struggled for years. I went on every single diet until I was literally, this is when I knew, I was like, this is going to change. I was like, I am so bored with the conversation in my own head about what I just ate. Who cares what I just ate? Really? That's what I'm thinking about? I have more important things to think about.
Yeah.
There's a great quote. Let's see if I can find it real quick, by Naomi Wolf. Here it is. A culture, she wrote a book called The Beauty Myth a long time ago, and it's called A Culture Fixated on Female Thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience. Dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. A quietly mad population is a tractable one, right? So she's saying, because we're so obsessed with thinness, right? We're sort of in this miasm of like, oh my gosh, food, calories. And so then suddenly we have lost our power. And so reclaiming, sorry, go ahead.
You can't think two thoughts at the same time. So if you're obsessing over your body, what are you not doing in the world?
Totally. So that's a brilliant question, Alicia. What, if you're obsessing about your body, what are you not doing? What are you not creating? What are you not giving the world that needs to be given? How are you not taking care of yourself? How are you not resting? Right? When you're giving, and this gets into a really important factor about how the obsession of thinness, of like, oh, I got to get that pre-baby body back, how that obsession actually messes with our nervous system. And then we're wondering, like, why am I so anxious? Why am I so worried? Why do I feel, right? Because when we're in that, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm the biggest person in the room. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to go there. And then what am I going to wear? All those thoughts, what they do is they shift us into fight or flight, right? Into our sympathetic nervous system. And it's not just fight or flight, it's also freeze and flop and fawn. There's all these responses that happen when our nervous system is whoop, and oh my gosh, I'm being chased by a tiger, right? I'm in danger. All those negative thoughts, they move us into that nervous system activation. And what happens? Digestion gets lowered, immune system gets lowered, metabolism gets lowered, our mental health suffers, right? All because we're a culture of women who have been obsessed by what the perfect thin body looks like. And I really want to say, so clearly, it doesn't have to be that way. There is freedom. It exists. And it takes some doing to get there.
Yeah. Take some personal development and some coaching.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Because one of my clients said, when we were talking about like creating this relationship with her body that feels really good, she's like, I feel like I missed this day at school. I was like, oh no, you didn't. We did not get it in school. Just saying, it did not happen in school.
You missed it because it didn't happen.
Yes, you missed it because it just never happened. Totally.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Is there a piece of advice that you want to give to moms?
Yes. Well, there's so many. So one is watch your inner dialogue about your body.
Yeah.
Watch it. You don't have, and it's not about, oh my gosh, now I'm going to judge myself for judging myself. That's not what I mean by watching.
Not helpful.
That's not helpful, right? Like, let's just add criticism on top of criticism,
right.
Which we do often, like in the personal growth world. People are like giving themselves a hard time for, like, I don't know, not being enlightened. Well, that's not the thing. What I want to invite moms to do is watch when they're being harsh with themselves and start practicing that kind, compassionate, caring mom that they know they can be towards themselves. The same kind of tender voice, oh honey, I'm sorry you hurt yourself, to themselves. We want to start cultivating incredible tenderness, incredible compassion with ourselves. And it speaks to the work that you do, Alicia, and the work that I do, is don't travel this journey alone. We are not, like, I remember years ago when my kids were little and someone was like, can you talk about, women and balance, moms getting balance in their life? I'm like, no, that is a myth. Let's just talk about moms and support, because that's what we really need, right? Whether, Alicia, it's like mom support coaching, whether it's, body peace coaching, you need help. We all need help. And it's actually a great sign of strength and resilience to say, this is not a solo sport, because really motherhood didn't used to be a solo sport. It only became a solo sport when we started living in cities far away from our families. So stop making it a solo sport and get the help, whatever it is that you need.
I'm fairly certain that's going to be a quote on my Instagram later on. It's not a solo sport. It might be an Instagram post today. It'll for sure be an Instagram post when I promote this episode. That's so good. And because that's new, like new meaning what we normally hear is it takes a village to raise a kid. Mm-hmm. But that is the focus is on the kid in that
yes
phrase. Moms need support. Like that's why I called myself that, because the time in my life that I was, the most depressed was when I felt like I didn't have support.
Yeah.
And it's so important. And I've had like 40 different thoughts while you were talking, and they're all gone now. But
welcome to our brain.
Right. But don't mom alone. Like I would imagine you have a coach that you work with. I have a coach that I work with. Mm-hmm. It's not like we can't do this. Oprah has like 5 I heard.
Yeah. No, it's important. It's
Yeah.
very important to get help in the place that you're struggling, especially when the places that you're giving yourself a hard time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm yelling at my kids too much. Then that's the place. And I feel bad about it. Then that's the place you get support. Oh, every time I get dressed, I feel terrible about myself. Then it's time to get support around body image, around wardrobe, around, oh my gosh, I cannot figure out how to feed myself. All I eat is leftovers. Then it's time to get some support around how do I feed myself without going on yet another ridiculous diet that's going to boomerang on me.
Yeah.
Right.
So good. Is there a book that's been instrumental in your personal development journey?
It was years and years and years and years ago when I first picked up a book by Melody Beattie called Codependent No More. And on the first page, it had a list of feelings. And I looked at that list and I was like, those are feelings. And it was like feelings, you like feelings that all people feel. And I was like, really? Like, because in my family of origin, no feelings. No feelings were not happening. Right. So how did I deal with my feelings? I ate my feelings, all of them. Right. The only feelings that you were allowed to have were like, I'm happy. And so here I was like reading this book and I was like, oh, you're allowed to have these feelings. So that book opened a whole Pandora's box of like, oh, I'm allowed to have this emotional depth. And these feelings actually all have wisdom and guidance for me in my life. And when I started to unpack that, then I was able to navigate food a little bit differently because I was using food to navigate all my feelings.
Mm. That's awesome. These are feelings.
Right. Right. I remember looking at disappointment. I was like, disappointment's a feeling. I thought that was a personal failure. Right. I was like, you're not allowed to be disappointed. You did something wrong. You're not just allowed to feel disappointed.
Yeah. You did something wrong.
Yeah. It was self-blame.
I just created an image last night that is on my lock screen on my phone. So every time I look at my phone, unless I unlock it, it says, I am free, I am powerful, I am good, I am love, I have value. Oh, it unlocked. I have purpose, all is well. And I like that's my new practice, to remind myself of all of those things.
Beautiful.
Where can our listeners find you?
So you can find me at Nina Manolson pretty much on all social. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the places. And there's somewhere new that's really cool that is a great resource. There's sort of two great resources. One is I now have a new Body Peace app. So if you go to your App Store or Google Play and search Body-Peace, it'll show up. You'll probably recognize me on all the sort of gray and pinks. And in it is a free class called the Body Peace Masterclass. And it really gets into the different relationships women have with their bodies. So I encourage people to go there and check that out. And if you're not an app kind of gal, go to my website, ninamanolson.com, and there is a journal. It's free. It's got 5 of my poems, but more important even than the poems are 20 questions that really give you a way to start having an internal inquiry about how is your relationship with your body? How is your relationship with food? What do you want there? And so I encourage people to go get the Practicing Body Peace journal that's on my website, or go to my Body Peace app, and there's the masterclass, and there's the journal too over there. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing your poem, and for our beautiful conversation, and for my awareness that I will remember when I re-listen to this later on. But like every time, because I always re-listen to it to make sure that the sound quality is good, and I record ahead of time, several months, so I'll forget that I, we had what our conversation was about specifically, but it'll be a good reminder, and we'll see where I'm at in May or June, whenever the episode drops. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah. So there's going to be another episode of Imperfect Momming for you all next week. And until then, keep healing. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's AlysiaLyons.com. See you next time.